Californian and Catholic.
Steamy.
Double whammy.
Steamy
Paul just
McDreamy.
made a wildly inappropriate Catholic joke for all of you that are listening. This guy right here is going to confession. Yeah, are you Catholic?
No, not
You're
anymore.
not?
No.
Oh, you were?
Oh, yeah, it's like Christian now.
Have you ever been to confession?
No.
Never? Mm-mm. Dang.
No.
I know Jared has. Jared's
Never
like,
done
man,
anything wrong.
he's definitely sat in front of a bishop before. I know that. I know that for a fact.
Oh, yes.
I can just tell. Thanks for coming on, guys. This is kind of a last ditch. We had, so Brady and Lorenzo are on a Coues deer hunt. So we gave away a Coues deer hunt. What do we call that? Mexicoos giveaway? Yeah. So I heard they killed a buck. The hunt winner killed a nice buck.
Sweet.
And then they're hunting for his brother-in-law, I want to say. They're still hunting. But those guys are in Mexico. So I had to call in backups today.
The bottom of the barrel.
I went around the office and I was like, who could I get? Who's
Got
going to
nothing
get?
to do today.
Who's got
I've been a
nothing
free
going
agent for
on?
4 years now. Finally got signed.
But yeah, we got Jared Pierce. Jared Pierce is our lead buyer. What's your title?
No, just buyer. Just
we're
buyer.
going to call you.
I appreciate that.
Campos, we got a new lead buyer. You heard it here first. But yeah, Jared's a buyer. You cover what departments?
Oh, man. So we just had a shake-up, and so now I have footwear, archery, food and nutrition, optics, and then some gear.
And some gear.
So, yeah, it's a lot.
All that.
Mm-hmm.
I want to dive a little deeper here in a minute into what this entails. But we also got Tall Paul Frame. The best mustache in town.
That's right. Keeping it real.
Yeah.
I was seeing everyone on Instagram. They have that like, show me you at 21.
Oh, yeah.
And I went all the way
Did you buy
back.
into it?
No, not at all.
You didn't post up?
No, but I just went through all my old pictures and I was like, damn, I had this mustache in like 2008.
Did you really?
Yeah. Yeah, it started to kind of like grow out a little bit. And then it's like understory vegetation. And now it's like full grown, babe. And it's been like this for years.
I don't think you can go without it.
Yeah.
I've already committed to myself when I kill my next mule deer or my first bull, it's coming off.
Ooh. Why?
Yeah, so I just stopped putting in for elk tags, so I don't have to worry about it. No, I'm just kidding. Just to change it up. I just want to do something different. Yeah, it's like to reset, you know?
I think I've told this story before on this podcast, but I had a coworker who had just an epic mustache. I mean, it was truly just a thing of beauty. It was like the Pringles guy, you know what I mean? Just a perfect mustache flipped up on the end. And one day he just came to work, didn't tell anybody, shaved it off. And it wasn't like one day where the novelty of it wore off. It was like 2 weeks where you'd still look at him and be like, wait a minute, are you the same guy? Like it got weird for a while.
Yeah.
So expect some weird looks for a minute.
Yep.
When I started here, I started growing my beard. I don't know if you remember how bad it got. There was a picture of
Good it
elk
got.
hunt like 2 years ago in Utah. I saw it. I'm like, I look like a homeless man. And so I shaved it off, and I still have vendors that I'll meet that are like, they didn't recognize me. So it's kind of
Did
funny.
you grow it back out?
I don't. I think, man, I keep going back and forth. Like I'll shave it all off and then I'll grow back. And I don't think the beard's coming back.
I think it's such a shame that guys like you that can grow just this luscious beard just don't do it diligence, you know?
Yeah. My problem is it doesn't grow back quick enough. So I can't just buzz it and then Monday it's back. This is like a process. So that's why I don't know. I'm
think
jealous
I
of
had
the
that-
beard guys though.
I had that need of not shaving after doing it for 20 plus years every day.
Yeah.
So I just didn't do it for like 4 years. And I didn't know how to keep it under control. So it just got
You
crazy.
got a little bit of a mustache going on there.
I was growing them back a little bit.
There you go.
I'd see Paul every day. I'm like, man, that's
Yeah, I
just
know.
glorious.
I lined it up.
Paul, what do you do here?
I run the showroom. I'm our showroom lead. So I was hired back in late 2021 before we moved into this building. And then during the conversations of hiring, they asked that they wanted to, GOHUNT wants to open a brick and mortar, and that they were wanting me to help run and facilitate it. And so I was over the moon. Like this was more than I could ever hope for coming from what I came from at an REI in LA, just running a company for somebody else.
Different crowd?
Different crowd, a little bit. I mean, there was actually quite a bit of appreciation for what we did. Like I made bear chili for some of our cookouts. I made some deer stew.
Yeah?
And I was very open about like,
You told them what was that?
yeah. After
You
they,
just sneak it in?
yeah, after they were all like eating it and hanging out at the beach and everything, they're like, man, that's awesome. What is it? And I was like, that's deer.
Right.
You flipped over.
Were they California sober at the time?
They were, yeah. A couple of them were, and then a couple of them were already like some of the fishermen and everything else, but it was always very quiet. Like it wasn't an open conversation to have because it just wasn't well received in
Right.
the Manhattan Beach area of California.
Gotcha.
But I wasn't going to shy away from it, you know?
How long were you at REI?
5 years. Yeah, 5 years. So I got hired here, and then it took a little while to get the showroom actually open and established. And then once it was, I was bothering Jared, I was bothering Campos and Ethan and everything, and about getting gear out there and starting to merchandise it. And then I think my first night I spent 17 hours doing it, and the next night I spent 12. Just getting gondolas out, setting stuff up. And then like over the year, it took time to like really let everything settle to where it is organically. And I think now the showroom's right where it is, and where everything is, we just end up swapping stuff out. So we might swap out cook stuff and pots and food for bugle tubes and diaphragms, and stuff like that. Yeah, just seasonal stuff. So try to do that at least, 3 times a year.
Yes, for those of you that might be listening, we have a showroom in Vegas. Like if you're in Vegas, if you're lucky enough to get Super Bowl tickets, if you want to come in town to see who's in town now on a show, Omar.
Yeah, Omar. That's right.
I'm trying to think who has residency in Vegas nowadays. Do you guys know? I should know this. I drive up and down I-15 enough. I should know.
You drive over there.
Garth Brooks. Yeah, if you're in town to see Garth Brooks, come by.
By the way, did you guys hear Toby Keith?
Yeah. Rest in peace, Toby Keith. You big Toby Keith fan, aren't you?
I respect. I've been going to look up. Just
yeah, we should put some on the table today. Just a little.
That was like the anthem after 9/11.
Oh man,
right?
wasn't it?
Man,
yeah, we'll put a boot in your ass.
Heck yeah, let's go.
Yeah, you haven't done fireworks up right on the 4th of July until you listen to that song and saw fireworks go off. For sure. But yeah, we have a showroom. If you guys are in town for Vegas for whatever reason, come by. We're off at 215 in Buffalo. It's pretty easy to get to, and you can get a chance to talk to Tall Paul.
That's right.
My wife, she's only been down here like maybe a couple times ever in the showroom. And last time she was down here seeing her brother. And she needed to stop by and get something. And I said, just go to the showroom and ask for Paul. Just talk to Paul. Paul will take care of you. And she came home and she's like, Paul's the nicest guy I think I have ever met. I said, yeah, he's a gem.
Yeah, they were great. I brought them waters. We were hanging out, chit-chatting, catching up.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're really great
my
family.
kids. Yeah, but we appreciate you guys jumping on. The reason I decided to have you guys on today, one, because, Brady and and then 2, footwear buyer for the shop, Jared. And I think, Paul, you probably get, you're kind of the face out front. And you probably get the most questions from people that come in and want to try on a pair of boots or want to try to buy a pair of hunting boots. Yeah. So I figure you would be a good gauge as far as like what people are asking, like kind of questions people ask about boots, what kind of advice you give them. And I know you're kind of a gear junkie yourself. So I thought it'd be interesting to talk footwear today. I guess before we get started, I should hit you with a promo. Omar, you like the promo? How many minutes am I? Oh, you didn't start my timer, man. Oh, well, no worries. Yeah, so promo. You can use the promo code podcast. You can sign up for a Gohun Insider account. Normal cost of that is going to be $149 a year. If you use the promo code podcast, we'll actually turn around and give you 50 points back into the GOHUNT Gear Shop. 50 points is $50 that you can use towards purchase of any gear that you want in the GOHUNT Gear Shop, including putting that towards a pair of boots or socks or whatever it is that you might be interested in the GOHUNT Gear Shop. So it's a pretty sick deal. Today is the deadline for Arizona. So if you guys didn't get your applications in, this isn't going to go out until it's too late. So
I'm going to say, don't tell them that.
Our bad.
It's already passed. Don't put in for
our
Arizona.
bad. But you still got a bunch of opportunities coming up, including New Mexico, Utah, Wyoming deer and antelope later on, Arizona deer, bighorn sheep. And there's Colorado. I shouldn't skip Colorado. Montana. Still a ton of opportunity to do some research and find an opportunity to pick up a tag. And like I said, with that promo code podcast, we get $50 back at the GOHUNT Gear Shop. And Paul will sell you some gear.
100%. Take some money off some boots.
Boots.
Yeah.
How many people do you get in people that walk in the shop, they come in. How many of them would you say are looking for boots? Is it quite a few? Do we sell a lot of boots?
Yeah, probably half.
Half?
Yeah. A lot of it is like pack fits. Oh, hey, man, I always want to get my hands on some of those packs, this pack, that pack. Or some guys, it's kind of funny, people will walk straight in because of the way the floor plan's laid out. Like you can walk right into the carpet between the couches. Yep. And they'll look at you when you're meeting them. They're like, I just want to talk about boots. And they don't look to the left and there's just a wall of boots. And then that's when we sit down and start going over, what they're looking for and everything else. Some people ask for brands that we don't carry. But that's all right because instead of one brand, we have many brands, a lot of different fits and feels, a lot of different flexes.
Do you know how many brands we carry
Ooh, man, I don't know.
off the top of your head?
Yeah.
Is it double digits?
Oh, yeah, easy.
For sure.
Yeah. And that's the cool thing about GOHUNT. You know, when we started, even at the expo, it was like 4 years ago. Mm-hmm. Like to have all those brands in one spot to try on is pretty cool. Mm-hmm. Like I was out in the showroom helping a customer yesterday, and he was blown away by all the different brands, and he could try them all on in one spot. So, yeah.
How many people buy boots sight unseen? Like a lot of, I mean, they buy them online, and then I guess what's the return rate like on that? And how do you deal with that? Because I remember when we first got started in carrying boots, that was like the big concern, right? Was how do you alleviate or how do you mitigate essentially people, buying boots and then not loving the boot and returning it? Yeah. So part of this is I think we've tried to do, and I guess I'm asking a leading question. I'm leading the witness here. You kind of know where I'm going, but like what kinds of things do you find on the website on the front end that you can help buy a pair of boots that's going to fit you the best, so that you're not just buying and returning?
Yeah. So you kind of talked about it a little bit. We put so much time and effort and energy and work into the getting set up to launch boots. Like it was a process.
List, wasn't it?
And we wanted to make, because we knew that buying boots online is not the easiest thing. Like boots are not getting cheaper. Spending $500 on a pair of boots online is a hard thing to do. So we wanted to give the customer as much information, practical information from us, not just, copy and paste off a website. So we have both like staff sizing recommendations, and then we have an overall boot sizing recommendation. So if you go to a boot product page right now, the first thing you see in bold at the top is like, hey, we recommend buying this boot, based on your size, a half size up or true to size or whatever, like one of the first themes. And then go ahead.
Yeah. And that was from people trying on the boot. So you take it, like when we get a boot into the office, like we got a new boot. We got a new boot on the end. We'll talk about it here in a minute. Yeah. But what the first step for you guys is to do what? You pull people around the office and have them try on the boot?
Yep. We have just random people in the office. We'll try it on. We have kind of we've sized everybody like per our sizing recommendations are on the website, like literally measuring your foot down to the 10th of a centimeter.
Yeah.
And then, that's the next thing on the website is a table of those people, their sizes, their Nike size, and then this boot size and how it fits them.
That's length, width, and then the normal Nike size that person buys.
Yep.
And then how that boot relates to their fit, right?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Does it work pretty good? You get a lot of...
It does. So we have, it varies around about a 10% return rate, which is way below like industry standard.
Gotcha.
So I think we've done really good in that aspect. So
Paul, do you have people call? Do you do customer calls as well?
If I can, yeah.
Gotcha.
Like if I don't have anybody in the showroom, like sometimes like Taylor, Brady, our CS team, they'll kind of tag me in an email. Like, hey, this guy just has some questions about boots. If you have a minute, we have a downtime. I'll try to get on a call and go with them step by step and kind of ask the questions that Jared's like putting on the website, because they're familiar with the website. They just need maybe a few more questions. Well, hey, I kind of wear, this, because we know that some shoes will run different, right? Mm-hmm. The Nike size is great, but if they wear Adidas can kind of be long or short, depending on what their size is. People might say like, well, I wear this and that in an Ultra, knowing that Ultra is a wider toe box. That's not really an accurate depiction, because people are so used to comfort in a shoe that this is performance in a shoe. This is going to be very different. Mm-hmm. So trying to get that conversation on the phone is going to be a little different, but we can dive in a little bit more. And then we just reassure them, hey, look, I know you're looking at so many boots. If you buy this one that doesn't fit, let me know. I'll get you a return label. We'll help you out. Try to ease the pain on this process a little bit more, because it's a lot to, like Jared said, to spend, $380, $400 on a pair of boots and not be sure.
Yeah.
So if we can be available to have the information online or to have a conversation over the phone, let's just take a lot of the guessing game out and help you as much as we can. And I think that helps with the return side of it. But we're looking at Garrett when he does returns, a lot of people buy like an 11 and a half, and they'll only return one.
Gotcha.
Which is kind of nice to know that at least the information on the website really narrows it down. Mm-hmm. Folks just want to know, which one's really going to fit. And they'll, they'll order both sizes.
What kind of questions do you get people coming off the street and they want to buy a pair of boots? Like, where do most people start with you? Do they know what they're looking for, or do they come in and just kind of say, help me?
I'll be honest with you, kind of thinking about it, I don't think a lot of people do. Like, they know what they wear, but I still think they don't know what they're looking for. They'll come in and they'll go, hey, man, I saw this online, or I've been watching a lot of your stuff, and so I just want to come in and try on some boots. And the first question is, well, what do you wear now? Like, I want to get an idea of what you're
That's where
already
you
in.
start.
Excuse me. Yeah. I ask them like, well, what do you wear now? They might say like, oh, I just wear a Irish setter. Or
Jared's dog scratching at the door.
She's speaking through the crack right there, knocking at the door.
Jared's got a German Shepherd named Harley. Harley, beautiful dog. You can hear her at the door scratching.
Knocks at the door all the time.
I know you're in there.
I can see one eyeball from the crack.
Anyway.
So most of it is just me asking, well, what are they in now? Because I want to get an idea of what they're wearing, because if they're looking for a boot, they're not happy. They're already not comfortable. Maybe they've already blown it out. Maybe they just want to do something new. And so I just want to find out what they're already in to kind of get my idea of an expectation for them. If this is what they're comfortable with, they're like, oh, I really like this, I don't know, this Irish setter that I got at a big box store that's really soft and broken in and doesn't have anything really technical, then I'll probably look at like a Salewa Mountain Trainer, something that's out of the box comfort, the Scarpa Mescalito, something that's out of the box comfort, the Zamberlan Baltoro, something that's out of the box comfort for them. Let's start there. And then the second question is, where are we taking this boot this year? Like, what is your typical hunt we're going to be using this boot in, if this is your one-hit wonder, or if this is going to be part of your boot lineup? So a lot of the questions when they come in, hey man, I just want to try on some boots. I have a blank hunt this year. And then that'll also set my questions off in a different direction. If we're talking antelope, I mean, probably not going to be that technical. If we're talking like a late season elk hunt, we're going to be talking somewhat technical, warm, stable, comfortable, everything that's going to be required for terrain, weather, and weight, pack outs and everything. You know, whether you're going to be 16 years old and you think you got the back that will go forever, or you got a 70-something-year-old and he might be on his last elk hunt. This guy should be in a boot that's like, it's going to go to 80, it's going to go to 90, he's going to be comfortable.
Yeah.
You know, it shouldn't matter.
Yeah.
So
you bring up good points. So I think that's a good direction. First asking them what have they used and what have they liked.
yeah.
I've always told people, if you got a boot that you like and it's worked for you and you just wore it out, just buy the same boot, right? If they don't make that boot anymore, then try to find something as close to that boot as you possibly can, because boots are, I don't know, man. Boots are different for every single person, right? It's a really subjective thing on what you're looking for, what you like, and what's comfortable for your foot.
Yeah.
It's pretty funny. Like, we did a boot video. We just put it out on YouTube, maybe 2 days ago or something. Yeah, and I just basically pulled 8 pairs, I think, that I thought I might be interested in trying on. And I think last night, just for kicks, sometimes I get bored at night and I got nothing going on, so I'll read through the comments on YouTube just for entertainment. And sometimes I try to answer them if I can, or just like look at DMs. It's always entertaining. But I was looking down through them, and it is really funny, just the comments that people. I mean, you'll get every comment from, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. That boot gave me a blister. Just buy a Kinatrack. Kinatrack's a catch-all for everybody. And I'm like, I've worn a lot of Kinatracks. Like, they aren't the boot for me. It's not that it's not a great boot for somebody. Obviously, that guy loves it. But for me, they aren't. They eat my heels up. And it's just because I got a narrow heel. And, I get a lot of slide around in it. But it is funny. People are really funny about boots, and they're very particular. So it's hard to fit one person in one boot. So all that to say, if you got a boot, a brand, I know that Handwalk works for my foot.
Yeah.
It just fits my foot. I had people commenting, say, yeah, those are way too narrow. They are a little bit on the kind of medium to maybe narrow width, which is what my foot is. So maybe it's not the boot for you, but I know that foot, that last, it works for me. So I wear Handwalk boots, right?
Yep.
So that's typically what I tell people. If you got a boot you like, a brand, buy that brand again, look into it. But the other thing that you said is type of hunt. So a follow-up, like what type of hunt are you going on and what type of terrain? So let's break this down a little bit, and maybe we can like tease it apart. So I would break it into the category of maybe you've got open country, like more antelope, spot and stock mule deer in the Badlands. I would kind of put those in the same category. Then maybe you transition, you're moving into like a mule deer, elk hunting type of boot. And then, you move up in elevation for those guys that are maybe going on a goat or a sheep hunt, or, high alpine spot and stock, mule deer hunt. So those are kind of the 3 categories that I would break boots in, or put them into. So I was curious if you could walk me through what kind of considerations in a boot that you would make for the 3 different types of environments. So Jared, if you're buying a open country, spot and stock antelope, open country mule deer, maybe it's early season, what are you thinking and why?
Sorry, I'm just getting
Jared's had a cold. Jared's had the vid.
ATA and SHOT Show kind of put the hurting on me.
Somebody call Fauci. He's got the vid.
Oh man. If I'm looking at those type of seasons, I'm looking for comfort over anything. Antelope a couple years ago, I just wore an Ultra boot.
Which is this one right here, right?
So I'm a huge Ultra fan. Like the wide toe box, zero drop, like I've worn them for years and years. So to be able to run that boot on a hot, early season antelope hunt was money. If I'm going up, maybe a mule deer, maybe a little bit more technical terrain, I might not do that. But I've actually worn those boots on a New Mexico backcountry elk hunt.
Yeah.
So, it so much depends on the person and how, what they want out of the hunt.
So what what would you say pros and cons for that type of hunt? Something like this versus something like, this Kenneth.
Weight is going to be number one. Like the weight on foot is huge. Like 10 miles with the Ultra on your foot versus 10 miles with the Kenneth on your foot, it's going to be a different effect on your body.
Right. They say 1 pound on your foot, it's like 10 pounds on your back. So that's what they say,
yeah.
Paul.
Okay.
You'd know. Right?
Yep.
That's what they say. I don't know if it's true or not, but you can definitely, you feel it in your legs for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, heavy boots over light boots over a full day. Breathability?
Yeah, that's a huge thing. Obviously, that's full leather, so that's going to not breathe as well as that Ultra.
They also make, this is also leather, it looks like, which I didn't even realize Ultra made a full leather lower.
Yeah.
They make one that's not, right? It's a synthetic,
for sure.
A mesh.
Yeah. And they make, they're starting to use, better waterproofing, like legit Gore-Tex waterproofing. So they're stepping their game up too.
This one is Gore-Tex, this Olympus 5 hiker. Do you like these? Do you ever wear these?
I've worn them before. If I'm just hanging out or something, I don't mind it, but I have like a narrower foot, so I slide too much from side to side. So I start to get hot spots underneath the ball on my ball or between my pinkies. Because then what I try to do is I lift my foot up in the shoe, trying to grab onto it, and then my toes start to rub. And it just in the technical situation, if I'm just kind of walking around the showroom all day or hanging out, I can run an Ultra no problem.
Yeah.
But even running in an Olympus or a Lone Peak, my foot moves
too much,
way too much. Yeah.
Tall Paul in the foot too.
Yeah.
One thing too is ankle stability and the strength of your ankles has a lot to do with that. I literally broke my ankle. I think I had surgery. It was on a Valentine's Day a few years ago, and I wore that Ultra boot on a New Mexico elk hunt that fall.
How'd you break your ankle on Valentine's Day?
Well, actually, I had this. I didn't break it on Valentine's Day. It got a little crazy, I had surgery on Valentine's Day. I had broken it before, but I was trail running in Ultras. But I had my dog with me, not this one. But she was on the trail, and I ended up off the side of the trail and stepped on a rock and broke my ankle. But I literally spent the whole summer, working and trying to develop my ankle stability, so I didn't have to wear these big, tall, boots. I can do something like that. So
yeah,
I think that goes a lot into it. A lot of people say, man, I want the max ankle support. I think if people would maybe develop their ankles a little bit, have some more muscle development and support, it probably wouldn't be such a big deal.
Yeah. I've got a bad right ankle and I can sprain that thing standing in a parking lot on flat ground. It'll just dip, just goes out. It seems like I can just count on spraining that ankle at least one good time every hunt. I'm just used to it at this point. And I haven't really found, it is interesting. I found that, like you're saying, a more flexible shoe. So for a while I did hunt elk in an aggressive trail runner. It was a La Sportiva, and I really liked it. But then the issues that I had was when I would get a pack fully loaded and I was going uphill, I was, hiking out, it just absolutely torched my calves and my legs because it just didn't give me the stability through the midfoot, both, laterally and, vertically as you're going either toe off or you're side hilling. It just didn't support the weight. And I would get back to the truck and my legs were just mashed, just hammered.
Big time.
So I kind of switched back over and I've gone back to kind of a stiff soled boot, but I agree with you. And then just trail running, I think it's done wonders for my ankles. They're definitely better than they used to be.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. I would not do that on an elk hunt again. You know,
Yeah.
because get older, learn those.
It is
things.
nice to go light and fast, though.
Oh, yeah.
And you can go quiet, too. That's the other thing is you can really feel everything.
I told people it's like you're a ninja out there with those things on.
Yeah.
That's what it feels like.
Yeah, the other times I've chosen like a flexible, lightweight hiker, super breathable, is areas that are super rocky, which sounds weird because you'd think the more rocky it is, the more likelihood that you're going to roll your ankle, you're going to roll your ankle in a really flexible boot or a shoe. But what I found is like when I was wearing a boot like this Killin Trek with a stiff sole in a really rocky environment, I didn't have the dexterity in my feet that I needed to like pick my way through the rocks without rolling my ankles. And it felt like I was always rolling my ankles. So like I went on that mountain goat hunt that I had in the Uintas, and it's just rocks that are, like size of a bowling ball, just straight up rock, the whole thing. And I went with a really super flexible, light hiker. Harley's getting in.
She's coming in. She figured it out.
Sounds like Jared's dog just figured out how to open a door. But yeah, that worked out really well because it gave me the dexterity in my foot. And it's funny because I went with Branson and Camera Guy Mather. Those guys both had like heavy duty mountain boots on, and coming out of there with fully loaded packs. I cut the distance. I think I was back to camp at least a mile ahead of them. Like it took them forever to pick their way down through that.
I remember that, huh? You wearing that Salewa boot?
Yeah, I wore that Salewa, and it worked out really well. Of course, I wasn't dealing with snow or wet weather or anything like that. So for that kind of environment, it worked really well. But those would be like the times that I would use something like this. Just light, fast, early season type of stuff. I think this type of boot, if you look at them on the desk here, a lot of these are probably way too much for that type of hunting.
Yeah.
What do you do as you move up the hill? What are you looking for in an elk hunting boot?
A stiffer shank for sure. But real quick, what Jared had alluded to was really helpful, and I wanted to kind of add to what you had mentioned too, was when it comes to like a softer boot, one big thing we see in the showroom is ankle dorsiflexion. And like he had mentioned, stiff muscles, stiff fascia or loose fascia, like plantar fasciitis, things like that create or limit the range of motion. That is also kind of keeping us from the things we need to do. So when you had mentioned sometimes people feel like, like something like this Ultra, when you have something that's got a lot of torsional flex, or if you land on the heel and this boot ends up kind of like turning on you this way, people think you might roll your ankle. But if you have enough range of motion that you can balance yourself, it's being stiff with imbalance that's going to create this ankle to do this. Right, or something like that. Or sometimes we just roll our ankles too.
So you're saying I lack mobility?
No, you have probably enough mobility, but I also think when you have like a lot of weight on your back,
you'd be right.
If you have a lot of weight on your back, sometimes that imbalance is just what it is. It's imbalance. Something's gonna happen.
Yeah, you got a bow in one hand.
Yep, 100%. You're trying to balance yourself. You got 60, 80 pounds on your back.
Quick pause. Dog found its way in.
Outside. Come on.
Hey, what are we? Oh, Allie, I know.
We're having a dog party.
She opened the door and came out.
Go on.
Somehow all the dogs just broke in, Omar.
Like, I have a cool.
That was impressive.
That was.
I'm not gonna lie.
Was it really a dog that got the
Yeah.
handle? Oh my gosh.
Yeah. How about that? What's up, CP?
We thought maybe it was another dog.
Yeah, we're started. Come on in. Do you
We're
want to do
about
a
3 hours
appearance?
into it.
We're about.
saw you out here.
We were, but
The dog opened the door.
broke in.
Hello.
Chris Porter, do you want to give us your boot
Guys,
rec?
good to see you. Good to see you.
Give us your boot.
We had a customer from Hawaii. You gave me this. I brought my lunch, so I figured you came in for cedar.
Huh.
Like smoked pig with. I mean, this guy's legit.
Axis deer.
I'll eat
No,
that.
he said this one's big. He said,
Oh, did you really?
yeah.
Oh, you
Yeah, I'll
got
eat
the other
that.
plates.
Anyway,
I'll eat
I didn't
that.
know you were recording.
Fridge that up. Fridge that up for me. I'll eat it. Yeah. What kind of boots do I know.
It doesn't look like this last time.
I do that at least once a week. Try to stick my hand in there.
Scarpa Mescalito.
Before you go, what do you got? What boot? What are you doing? Which
You
ones?
know, I was trying to
Give us
brand myself as the boot king, but
Get-
it didn't really stick.
give us a recommendation before you go.
I'm a big synthetic guy.
That's the new one.
I already
brand
know the
new.
one Porter's gonna peg.
Brand new, not even out yet.
I do like this one. I like some good ankles.
We were talking about ankle support.
Well, is this the one you and I ran?
Yeah,
I like that boot.
it is nice.
Which is the Machra Pro.
Scorpion with the yellow laces.
The Mescalito? It's not in here.
I didn't bring that one in here.
You know me, I'm a synthetic guy, so like,
You like that one? I like that one too. I thought you'd go for this one. I'm like, that one's got a little flash.
There's that one a little loud.
Yeah.
Really?
Great. Bye, guys. Good seeing you.
Thanks, Porter.
Bye.
Give us the rundown on what you're talking about imbalance. Sorry, we had a break. Kicking it right back off again.
Yeah, it's just a lot of it is the mobility itself. So sometimes if we have like really stiff ankles or we don't have a lot of range of motion, like sometimes we need the boot to help us out, make it comfortable and everything else. That's why like sometimes in a really stiff boot, my ankles are like my heels are shot. There's no way I can do it because that range of motion of stepping on the ground, my knee bending, that ankle dorsiflexion, and that heel raising up in the back, blister immediately. So I can't go too stiff for me, right? So trying to talk to customers about what hunt are we doing? What's going to be most comfortable? Like I thought the Scarpa Crux was great. The approach shoes were really good options. All the Ultras are great options. Some of the softer Hanwogs like the Machra Lights, the Tatra Lights, the Tatra 2s, some of that stuff, those work a little bit better because they can soften up. The Salewa Mountain Trainer 2, that one's like chocolate to people. That one is so popular because it's comfortable right now, but it has a really soft outsole. Mm-hmm. So you have a lot of the bend you would get. Yeah, look at that. I mean, you can bend down to almost to the midsole or midfoot on that boot, which is comfortable out of the box. You still have ankle support. It's still Gore-Tex. It checks all the boxes for everybody.
I don't know if you've got hands on that one yet.
Check this one out.
I know he has.
Oh, me.
Yeah, I followed a little
I saw it that weekend in Arizona when Adam had them on.
That's
Yeah,
right.
they were really comfortable.
I think this is going to be
awesome.
example, yeah.
Yeah.
So something you said earlier, you said for an elk hunt, you are looking for, you kind of point people towards a boot that's got more support to it, right?
Well, I mean, generally, yes, but the problem is, like you said, everyone's foot is different. And this is going to sound like, well, of course it's all different. But the reality of it is it's hard to really pinpoint a boot for someone. So if someone's going on, like if we're going from what I call like your front country hunt or your back country hunt, and then what are we doing primarily? Are you going to do this elk hunt every year with your buddies? You doing like a mule deer elk hunt? What are we going to change up? Because spring bear too, we also want to consider, right? Because that's just steep and deep kind of stuff. So I want to make sure that I'm looking at the person that's looking for this boot. You get them on the Brannock device, find out their size. And I even ask them, like, can I see your ankle dorsal flexion? Like, try to sit on your feet and see how far that knee can come over those toes. And we'll have an idea of, okay, well, we're a little limited, so let's find you a boot that's going to help you out. That's going to be comfortable with you on these hikes. So
And you're talking heel movement, right? Based on how their knee hinges.
If they can plant that foot down and bring that knee over the toes, how far can they get before that ankle starts to come up? That's going to be a little that range of motion, because that's going to tell us if they're taking a step and they land heel and they're moving through, and then by the time their knee, like if they're going up steep terrain and that knee gets over the toes and their heel keeps lifting, they're going to have blisters by, probably their first mile, 2 miles, depending on how steep it is. So we don't want to set that precedent. That's going to be a death hunt.
Yeah.
So just trying to answer those questions. So if someone's going on an elk hunt, what boot do you use now? I use the blankety blank, but I just wanted to do something different. All right, well, hey, look, if you like that boot, I wouldn't recommend going anywhere. We know it works for you. Just like you got guys coming in talking about all kinds of stuff that, well, this works, so I just want to change it. Why?
Yeah.
It works for you. Unless you're just like, you just want to hit reset and try it all over again and you like that process, great. Then let's talk about it. But if you're just like, hey, only got a few months and I don't know, I just want to do something different, let's not. I don't want this hunt to go that way for you. Let's stick with what you know, or let's see other boots that are in that category to give you that same fit and feel. We all know what it's like to have that boot that fits like the glass slipper, that Cinderella effect that I call it in the showroom. If you can't put that boot on and feel that aha moment of what's comfortable, we're chasing it. And I don't want to chase it. Let's just stick with what's comfortable. So most times, like Porter, if he's saying like, oh, I love the Scarpa Mescalito, the Mescalito by Scarpa, the Mountain Trainer 2, the Baltoro 1110 by Zamberlan are all kind of in the same category. I can bring all those boots out and have someone try them.
A lot of those have the same flex, right?
Very
same
much so.
feel,
all within the 3 categories.
Same stiffness.
Yeah.
Yep.
Jared, talk us through stiffness of a boot and how we kind of tackled that.
Yeah. So that was in that initial phase. Like you helped me a lot with the flex rating. So we have a 1 to 5. 1 being like a trail runner, and then all the way up to 5, the stiffest mountain boot, probably like that Zamberlan 2092 right there.
This guy.
Yep. So we try and, give the customer, a pretty good idea of the flex of that boot, just looking at that number. So and you can go on the website, you can filter by flex, like you can filter by all those type of things and look for those specific boots.
Yeah, you can. You can filter within the shop, which is a good starting point, I would say, for a lot of people. I mean, a boot like this has its use case scenario, but it's probably not for everybody, right?
It's definitely, the Flex 5 is definitely our most returned boot. Because I think a lot of people like, oh, it's Steve, nasty, whatever country, I'm going to get the stiffest boot I can find. And then they get them and they're like, that is literally walking on a board, and that's not going to work for me.
Who do you think needs a Flex 5? What type of hunt? What type of hunter? Who likes a Flex 5? Stiffest boot we got.
Goat hunters.
Brandon
in our office loves a stiff boot.
He's just like every day in that Scarpa. So.
There's probably something to, Brandon's a bigger guy. He's probably 6'2", I would think. 200 pounds. He's a bigger dude, and there's probably something to that. I think I heard somebody say one time, essentially the further up the mountain you go, the more boot you need, and both in terms of materials, just more durability, and also stiffness and height. Yeah. And there's probably something to that. Same with pack weight. The more pack weight you're going to carry, the bigger your guy are. You probably need a little bit more rigidity in your sole and your boot. Yeah. So maybe that's why he likes that stiff-soled boot. I would say, Flex 5, there's probably not that many people, unless you really know that you love a stiff boot and you can break that in. Or, guys that are going into super steep, high alpine country, sheep hunters, goat hunters potentially.
Those steep and deep mule deer guys too.
Maybe some steep and deep mule deer guys.
Spring bear.
How much break-in time do you think you would need for something like that?
I would say quite a bit. I mean, if you're planning an October hunt, I would get them as soon as you can and just
right now.
Start breaking them in. Yeah, like I am shocked by the number of boots that we sell like in September. Like,
I know,
like guys or guys. Hey, I got a hunt in a week. I need some boots. I don't know if you've ever done it.
I've done it. I don't recommend it.
No, I did it this last year. I literally put boots on my foot, like hiking away from the truck for the first time.
Ouch.
But I would not recommend
That's a scary proposition.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. So, and then 4 would be the next stiffest. 3 is kind of the middle of the road.
Yep.
A boot. I mean, is this a 3 flex?
Mm-hmm.
So this is the Salewa Mountain Trainer Mid. This is a 3 flex.
Yeah. That Alverstone's a 3.
Alverstone's a 3. So you can see that you've got pretty good flexibility. What would you say is that one's a little bit stiffer. Mm-hmm. What would you say the cutoff is as far as you could expect to have a boot show up to your house and put it on and it be comfortable without much break-in time? Is that a 3 flex, 4 flex?
There's a 4 like that in Machra Pro, I think would be in there. Like,
yeah, I've never had any issues with that boot. Yeah. I've worn it right out of the box.
Yeah. So I'd say a 4 probably. I mean, I get the question a lot, and I'm sure Paul does too. Like, hey, I want to do it all boot.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that's one of the biggest mistakes people make in buying boots?
I think so.
I think it is too. I think people want a Swiss Army knife for boots, and I don't think there is one.
Doesn't exist.
And that's what I think Paul, he probably does the same thing when I try to explain that to him. Like, hey, you can't, like, you're going to lose stuff on both ends if you get the middle of the road, like, try and do everything. Yeah. You're going to miss the early season flexible. You're going to miss the, stiff,
There is a compromise. You have to compromise.
Yeah. I mean, I say that. I also understand the predicament that people could potentially be in, that boots are $300 to $400 a piece, and you don't want to buy 3 or 4 pairs of different boots for different types of hunts that you're going on. Yeah. So I can certainly understand people wanting to buy, the Swiss Army knife of boots. If you had to, like if I forced your hand, both of you, and I was like going to put you in a box and say, pick a boot that you think is the closest representation to a do-all boot, what would you say? What would it be for you?
I'll let Paul go first, and then I'll adjust my answer.
Paul, what do you got?
A do-all boot. Goodness, I'd have to say it'd be like the Hanwag Trapper Top or the Kenetrek Mountain Extreme. For God almighty, 400.
The Trapper Top.
Yeah, the Trapper Top or the Mountain Extreme.
That kind of surprises me a little bit.
Yeah,
actually.
I know. I was a little shocked too.
That's a heavy duty boot.
I kind of got like, it's only because.
And again, this is for you, so you can explain.
Is it my boot?
Yeah, for you.
Or for just a customer? Oh, for me, Alverstone, and I'll just freeze. See, I'm not like a late season guy other than like the January mule deer stuff or maybe like a javelina hunt or something.
Yeah.
But like the majority of the guys that we get that come in, they are your October to late November guy.
Gotcha.
So that's why I thought the boot that would be better for them if they're like, well, I might draw a mule deer tag. Well, I might do this. Then the boot that can take you to all those mites is probably one of the ones that I mentioned. Mm-hmm. You can wear a thicker sock. You can change your insole. You can, do all these different things to kind of help regulate some of the insulation. If you're going to be like an all-around guy, I'm going to kill a bear in the spring, I'm going to hunt deer in August, and I'm going to kill a bull in September, the Alverstone.
That guy right there.
I would kind of agree with that. And that's one of the trickiest sizing boots that we have in the shop. So it's a narrow boot, and it's built to be a narrow, like technical type boot. Mm-hmm. They did come out with a double E, a wide version of that fits a standard width foot well. So it's that's why it's tricky to size people into that boot. But I would agree with his statement. For me, I think it would be the Hanwag Makra Combi was my boot. I wear it all the time. So I would go with the Makra Pro.
Yeah.
My feet run warm, so I can, if it's late season, I can just adjust my sock and wear a gaiter.
Gotcha.
That will probably take me to most anywhere that I want to go.
Gaiters are unsung heroes.
Yeah, I would agree. I love this boot too. It's a 4-flex. It's pretty stiff. I didn't have any issues, like I said, breaking this boot in, but this has kind of been my go-to as well. The Makra, I wore the Makra Trek, which is a lighter version, and then the Makra Pro. And I wore it mule deer hunting, I wore it elk hunting, and it kind of did everything that I wanted it to do. So I would have to agree with you. The Alverstone's another one. Do you know, is the Alverstone the best-selling boot in the...
It probably is.
Do you know?
Yeah, I think so. For Hanwag especially, for sure.
Yeah. So the Hanwag Alverstone would be kind of a good catch-all.
Yeah, and that's where, like, if somebody wanted to do it all boot, that's kind of where I would start, and adjust from there.
Because you were mentioning before, like, where you transition from, like, front country going kind of up the hill. This is where I feel like, based on height, because when I talk to people in the showroom, our height is one thing. You can have a guy who's 5'6", you can have a guy who's 6'11", and they can both weigh 200 pounds. Leverage and weight is going to be one thing. That boot is only going to be able to take so much of either one of those guys before it's going to start to like outperform what we need it to do. Hence, really tired feet. That plantar fasciitis where we feel like that heel is just driving and it's inflaming that fascia in the foot, and it's just going to hurt and suck. So when you transition from, like, let's say antelope and front country, based on what Jared was saying, I would probably recommend something that's going to have a stiffer toe box for people. So now we can shorten our steps instead of like taking such long gaits and striking with the heel. You can now shorten that gait up, just land on your toes and just toe into your soil as we go up. Let the boot do the work. Let the larger muscle groups in your legs do the work. Like you mentioned, using a trail runner for an elk hunt, your calves were torched. You can stand there and do like toe raises or calf raises for like 9 miles, and it's going to feel the same thing as wearing a soft boot with 60 to 80 pounds on your back for blank miles in the terrain. So finding something that's got a slightly stiffer outsole, something that'll help bend a little bit so you have your range of motion, but stiffening up the shank is my transition from the front country boot to now a back country boot for mule deer, whether it's an October rifle tag, September elk tag with your bow, whatever you want to do, something that's going to give your foot support. Because I tell people in the showroom, you have your metatarsals of your toes, that'll bend, and then you have your ankle that hinges. That midfoot doesn't bend at all. So we need something that's going to be comfortable under the midfoot. If you have a boot that you use in half, that foot's going to end up taking a beating. So I'd say for anyone who's looking at like, I like to hunt the front country with my dad or my friends or whatever. That's great. You can wear whatever's comfortable for you. You can go out and I've seen people wearing Vans and just work boots by Wolverine and Justin's and George's and all those. But once you start to change terrain, everybody's different, but I would recommend something that you can toe in that's just as comfortable as you walking upstairs over and over and over. And that's that comfort.
And you get that through your insole, right? So it's most of these, in my understanding, is that like if you go from something that's got super, like a lot of flex to it, you're probably looking at a 3/4 length TPU midsole, right? Yep. Versus something like this Canatrack, you're talking a full length nylon midsole. Like you're getting that rigidity and the stiffness in it. And that's what you're saying, right? As you move into that backcountry stuff, you're at that point looking for a stiffer fit, a full length.
You're wanting something that's gonna cater to what you're needing it to do.
Yeah.
And I think that's where sometimes we get lost in like conversations of like, I just need a boot because we've always been used to maybe just grabbing something, it works and we're gone. But we're now again going from just comfortable footwear to what I would consider performance footwear. This is a different demand because this will ruin hunts for people, and that it really sucks. When someone comes back from a hunt, like there was one gentleman I was talking to, he had a mule deer hunt in Nevada, and he had a pair of boots that they ate him up. He said he was walking out in just like some stocking, like moccasins. He goes, I had to wear those because my feet were shot, man. I mean, that would essentially ruin someone's hunt if he didn't really give up on the fact that there's deer here. I'm hunting them. I had my opportunity, and he stayed. But I mean, that's a really crappy experience.
Yeah, sore feet will ruin your hunt real quick.
Yeah, and you imagine someone who's spent the money on a non-resident tag, who's made the drive to get all the way over there, and like out of their 8 days, they've just spent 3 duct taping their feet together.
Yeah,
I mean that's.
Do you think? I think about it a lot. Do you guys think that this type of stuff is a big barrier to entry for people coming out west?
I do. Yeah, I mean,
if you're used to going to a tree stand and like, I don't know, I've literally never hunted in a tree stand. I don't want to, but like if you're used to like walking a quarter mile to this tree stand, like footwear is probably
for sure.
You're just trying to stay warm. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you're wearing those lacrosse boots out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it can be really overwhelming to know what kind of boot you should buy. I mean, I think we've probably got maybe 10 or 15 pairs out on the table, and they're all wildly different.
Oh yeah.
And you're like, which boot would be the one that I would pick and why?
Yep.
I mean, you've got a tall 10-inch boot, you've got some shorter ones, you've got different mixes of, flex and stiffness and, different fits. And I think it would be hard. That's why I think it's interesting. Like, I would go back to the guides that we offer, right? So within each individual boot profile, if you look through our website and you look on a boot and you're like, oh, that might be an interesting boot. You click on it, you look at the different fit ranges, and then also read through the descriptions, because when we wrote those descriptions, we tried to write them in a way that we gave somebody an indication of what that boot's best use case scenario is.
Yeah.
So read through those. Also, I mean, the flex, I would start there at flex.
There's actually, speaking of the flex, there's actually a description that goes along
with the flex.
Like, trying to explain where that flex would work best.
As it relates to terrain.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's ultimately what you're talking when you're talking the flex or the stiffness of a boot. Like I said, it's going to get stiffer the further up the mountain you get. And, the 5 flex is really... It's a limited category for guys that are going sheep, mountain goat hunting, and maybe like your most extreme steep terrain. Yeah. Everybody else is probably going to fall, if you're talking mule deer or elk, in that 3 to 4 flex range. Yeah. Somewhere.
Yep.
Let's talk materials real quick. All leather boot, synthetic, leather synthetic. Why, when?
You got like all leather. So like full grain stuff, which is, already kind of like naturally hydrophobic and water repellent. Probably maybe a little more insulating, but great for, anything really. Like Brady runs the hell out of those Trapper tops. I think the Tatra top's a great boot. This new Brenner Pro is epic. Kenetrek, I think it's just one of those tried and trues because of leather. Abrasion resistance is there. Comfort is there. When it softens up and becomes supple or someone conditions it, like that's a glove. It is just on there, which is really nice.
That's one thing I like about an all leather boot is that it really does tend to like mold and stretch to your foot, and it becomes really comfortable. You put that thing on, it feels like a hug on your foot.
Like baseball gloves.
Yeah.
Growing up, we used to just like oil them, sometimes warm them up with the blow dryer.
Some ink oil on them.
Man, like a ball would just like stick.
Yeah, you put that ball in there with the rubber band around it, stick it under your mattress.
Exactly.
Yeah,
and then you look at a boot like that, and your foot's that ball. We want it to just like mop in. Then you move over to like your hybrid stuff. So Nubuck is the same as actually full grain. It's actually just been like buffed. Yeah. Kind of adds a little texture to it, and already that abrasion resistance. You're just changing up what full grain was. But then they make it a hybrid. So then you like blend in synthetic up in the cuff with leather in the bottom. So you've got durability in the lower. And then you're getting a lot more mobility up in the ankle with synthetic and breathability, which is really, really comfortable. I love a hybrid boot. I've ran La Sportiva Trango Towers when I first started hunting, which is a mountaineering boot. But hunting in California, it was all just stiff along the eastern Sierras or steep. So I liked a stiff boot, and it worked for me. And then now that I've changed terrain and I moved out here, the Alverstone's gone with me on mule deer hunts, and it was very comfortable. It's gone to the desert flats chasing javelina. I look forward to taking it on all my hunts this year. And then you run into just your synthetics, which, like you guys said, was the ever popular Makra Combi, the Equilibrium. Is that the ST?
Yeah.
Equilibrium.
The Salewa Ortless. I think that's the Ortless Light or the Ortless Mid. That one's really comfortable. I got one of the winter versions you got me, and man, that thing is really nice and insulated.
Yeah, this is a full synthetic.
Yeah, that's a really comfortable boot.
I think that's what Lorenzo, the insulated version, what was it?
Yep.
He wore to Canada on that that sheep hunt.
To me, I like a synthetic early, right? Like early season hot weather when breathability is a premium.
Big time.
My feet can get really hot in a full leather boot and they can sweat out. They are comfortable, but I agree with, they got their time and their place. Any other use case you could think synthetic? I mean, mostly early season stuff. Is that the primary use case scenario for a full synthetic boot?
I would think also, like, don't look away from wet conditions. Synthetic dries a lot quicker than leather. Like if this thing wets out, you've got a long day of trying to dry these things out.
Right.
Sometimes you might want to put them by your stove or try to get like your the boot warmers we carry. If you need those for a hunt, it's going to be wet. Take something that's going to benefit you. But otherwise, synthetic dries fast. It breathes really well. It does a great job with like just beating up water like water off a duck's back. But it's also porous. It requires you to kind of condition it a little bit more, get that stuff out of there, clean that dirt and the sediment, the blood. I just dropped an article. I wrote an article for Brady and the guys not too long ago about cleaning your stuff up. You're sitting around hanging out, clean your boots. Don't let them sit because they dry out and you go to put them on and it just dehydrates a lot of that. Not that the material's hydrated, but it dries out material. And then you got something soft like synthetic with a full rubber rand. And if you happen to have like a really soft outsole like this one, that synthetic's going to start to wear and wear and wear. And if it's full of dirt and stuff, it's just going to end up ripping on you. I mean, it's a high wear point anyways. The shelf life on synthetic's probably shorter than leather, but...
some more durability in a leather boot?
I think so. For sure. But the comfort in synthetic is like, damn, it's hard to pass up.
Yeah.
They're comfortable, man. They're really comfortable.
Especially early season hot, hot, wet, early.
Yep.
Yeah, lightweight. So you're gaining
way lightweight.
You're gaining that. It's definitely a lot lighter on your foot than a full leather boot.
Yep.
When do you wear a full leather boot? Who buys the full leather boot and why?
I mean, I think a lot of traditional hunters still like that leather boot. I've honestly personally stayed away from them quite often because I just don't like the weight penalty, I guess.
Sure.
But I say that, and that's the boot I wore this year. Like walking away from the truck, putting it on my foot was literally a tall leather insulated boot that I've never worn before in my life.
What was it?
It was the white Sloxa.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
How was it?
It was amazing. Like I didn't have any problems with my feet. I literally I tried that boot on, but I had never worn it on a trail before. And we were at 11,000 feet and a foot of snow.
I tried on that white Awahi.
Yeah.
Super comfortable.
Yeah. 100%.
Felt plush under my foot.
I was impressed. So
I think I think of the times that I've chosen to wear a leather boot, I've worn them in, late season because I think they are more watertight than a synthetic or a synthetic blend with leather. I think it's nice that you can treat them with like a snow seal or a leather conditioner or a waterproofer. I think they're a little bit easier to maintain just because they are a full piece, leather. I mean, if you look at that Kennetrek I got in my hand, it's one full piece of leather. I think they're more durable for sure. I think the lifespan of these, I think one of the primary reasons you get a full leather boot's a lot more durable is just there's not much stitching in it. And when I've had synthetic boots or leather synthetic blends, where they failed on me is typically anywhere you've got some stitching, and it's almost always like the waterproofer that goes out on those first. Yeah. So my feet get wet. But, they do dry quick, but I wouldn't want to have wet feet on a cold late season hunt. Yeah. Right?
Yep.
Leather's definitely heavier, but I do find it more comfortable for the long haul.
Yep. Yeah, I think it'll be more comfortable. It'll break in better to your foot over the long haul for sure.
I also think if you are that guy that you're like, I've got $400 and that is everything I could put into a pair of boots, and I need that boot to last me for the next 3 years, I would buy a full leather boot.
100%.
Because I think you're going to get better wear and tear. It's easier to take care of. It's going to last a whole lot longer.
Yep. I I think you hit the nail on the head taking care of the outside, but don't forget to take care of the inside and the liner. Because like you can take care of the outside all you want. Like if you wear a hole in the liner or something, then doesn't really matter.
Yeah, I think full leather takes you a lot further than some other boots does. You know, especially, I mean, you think about some of these boots, they're the cost of a tag. You know, I mean, goodness, how much do we save just to afford the tag or the license and the points and this and that, you know? So trying to maximize how much you're going to get to use your boot. I mean, there isn't one boot to rule them all, right? But we definitely want to feel like...
Is that a Lord of the Rings reference?
Yeah.
Brady'd love that shit. He'd be so pumped right now.
But, you know, I do believe that if we know, like if we're talking to someone, like you said, I wanted to get back, like that barrier of entry, that is steep for some people. And if we get to talk to them in the showroom and get to talk to them, or they're looking at our website to set the precedent of, look, we already know this has been hard for you. Let's get you in a boot that you don't have to worry about anything from season to season as you get going. And then after that, we all know what it's like. You get bit by the bug, and now we've got 3 to 4 to 5 to 12 boots, and we've got all this and that. Fine, that's cool. But let's get you in one now to maximize your opportunity, maximize the hunt you're getting ready to go, keep the stoke high, keep you excited, and meet that expectation for you, and then just enjoy your time outside. Yeah. That's it. And I think a leather boot is probably a better bet for them. And again, they can, it's a steep price point on some of this stuff, but you know, we want to guarantee, like, you don't have to worry about buying another boot for a while. If you take care of it, pull the insoles out, let them dry, clean them out. Don't let, you know, fungus and stuff grow up in these things, and, you know, save your boots. So
what do you think the lifespan of a boot is? Like, what would you say? Like, you get a full, like that trapper top there. How many years are you getting at it?
I honestly still have my first pair of Zamberlin, like,
this guy
outfitters, like probably at least 10 years old. I still have them.
Right.
So I think if you take care of them, and I don't use them. I don't hunt in them anymore, really.
Sure.
They're just bigger than what I want, but they're 10 years old and they're still going strong. Like, I think if you take care of them, you know, I think a lot of guys probably like will hunt the season, then they come home and just throw them in the closet, and like they get dry and you know what I mean? Yeah. So they're not going to last that long. But if you take care of them, man, I would say at least 5 years easy.
Yeah. For hunters, I agree. I think it's like 5 to 8-ish seasons, you know, depending on how many hunts you do, easily. But, you know.
Yeah, it depends on the individual. I know I would say typically like a full leather boot, like let's take this, what is that, a Hanwag?
Yep.
Brenner
Pro. It's a little bit softer soled, but I was thinking something like my Alaska GTX, my Hanwags. I can typically get like 3 years out of that. I would say, like, really hard hiking. Like if I wore that thing all the time, but I could also have it resold if I needed to, right?
And I think you hunt a little more than your normal hunter,
right?
So.
Yeah. I'm talking a guy that like shed hunts in the spring. Yeah. You know, I would say 2 to 3. Probably 3 years, I would say. Something like this Makra Pro, you know, you might get 2 seasons out of it, I think, if you're hunting a lot and hunting pretty hard.
Yeah.
And a synthetic, I mean, I could go through a synthetic pretty quick, like probably a year, I would say. So, I mean, that's what I'm talking about when I say, you know, more bang for your buck. I feel like a full leather, you know, heavy duty boot like the Alaska GTX or like the Trapper Top or, you know, some of the other ones that you see, the whites, for example. I feel like, you know, you buy that, you're going to get 3 years out of it at least.
Yeah, I think so.
Talk to me about boot fit. What type of questions you get about boots, how they fit? Like what type of boot, what type of brand, I guess I should say, for what type of foot? Do you have a good gauge on that?
I know that like with Zamberlin, they run a little bit wider just naturally in the last. So maybe for guys with higher volume feet, I know that I can always trust a Zamberlin to fit fairly comfortably. Scarpa also kind of makes their toe box like really wide in the pronation, like looking at it this way. For pronating, Scarpa gives you a little bit more room. Check out that ribble light. You can kind of see that toe box, how it widens out here. You know, for guys that might have like a longer lower arch, so there's more pronation or almost flat-footed. It's not the same thing. I shouldn't have done that, but they want more room on the outside for pronation, or if they're supinating, standing on the outside of their feet, that might be more room for them. Some guys, when they come in, they're always like, "Man, I have a huge foot," and it's actually not. It's just maybe
everybody I know says that.
Yeah. It's just like
if I read through a comment section, they'll always inevitably like, "Oh, they don't make boots for guys like me."
You mentioned the comment section earlier, and I was like, "Oh, like I'll go like Facebook and read through some of the comment sections, like, hey, stay away from Scarpa. They're always narrow." I'm like, man, stop. Like, I hate when I see that. Like, hey, just this whole brand is narrow. Like, no, stop. Like, let's talk about each one individual.
Yeah, I'm not saying that there's that many, the people out there don't have wide feet, because obviously they do, but I think a lot more people think they have giant wide feet when reality is they're probably a little bit more.
Well, and like Jared said, there's a misconception, a misunderstanding of like putting your foot in like an Irish setter from like 10 years ago and then dropping your foot into something like a climbing built boot. And you're thinking like, oh, it's way too tight. Well, not really. I mean, the leather's a lot tighter. The rand is a lot higher. Like this boot was built to map that foot that you could literally just walk on the outside of your feet along a hillside and it's never going to fail. That's a different boot than what we're used to in something where you might feel like you're really walking on the outside of your boot and it's torsionally flexed. And so the expectation is different. And I think that's a big thing too, is when people hop in a boot, they're thinking, oh, it's way too tight. Well, let's think of the boot first. Like if you get into a small sports car and you're like 6'5" and 310, it's not the car. Like let's change our expectations really quick. This is a performance thing that's built different for certain situations. And we're used to a big, like let's say F-350 or something. Those are two different scenarios. And I don't think, not only is it not, I'm not talking about just the poor boot, it's the person trying the boot. Don't do that to yourself, man. Don't give yourself that confusion and then talk yourself out of something that's probably actually going to work for you. So I would think, we'll try it on. And usually when we're trying stuff on in the showroom, let's find something that doesn't work. That's a lot easier. The best part is when you find 2 or 3 boots, you're like, I can't make up my mind. Perfect. Then we did our job.
Work backwards.
Yeah. Let's find you something that's not going to work for you, and we can start like getting those out. And then if we can get you at the end of like, oh man, I'm stuck between these two, we'll just wear them around for a minute. If you're not in a rush, just hang out, see how they feel. Give your feet some a time to swell up, sit in them, get up in them. Here, let me show you the office real quick. We'll take a walk, see how you feel. And if you're like, dude, these are just plush, done. Cinderella effect.
What brand of boot for the people that do think that they need more room in their forefoot? What do you recommend? Are there brands? Are there individual boots that? Because inevitably, we'll see the comment, we'll get the question like, I have a wide foot, I need more foot volume in the front end.
Those whites are really nice, I think.
Whites?
Yeah, I mean,
because they volume in, they make a wide.
I kind of hate to like just pigeonhole a brand, but there's definitely models like the Alaska, the Tibet, this Brenner Pro. Like if I liked a tall, that would be my money boot right there.
That Brenner Pro from Hanwag?
Yep.
Gotcha. And I agree with Paul. The Zamberlins tend to me, they feel like they've got a lot more foot volume than what I need. Yeah. They definitely feel wider through the forefoot. I mean, if you look at that boot right there, you can see it's got a lot going on up top.
They made, I know you know this, they had that 966 Saguaro. Yeah. I loved that boot. The only problem is, man, I could touch both sides of that boot with my feet, like moving my toes back and forth. And I was like, there's no way I can make myself I can't wear like 2 pairs of socks. I can't do an insole. That boot is going to suck. But it grabbed the heel just right. The toe box and the volume over my midfoot was way too high. So that tells me, though, someone who's got a high midfoot and like a wider toe box, that's your boot. Let's get you into one. So I think, that kind of matters. I think, again, like you said, not to pigeonhole a brand, but like that Hanwag and Cash is a really nice boot out of the box for those large volume feet. The Alaska and a wide. Some of the Scarpas, Zamberlin mostly. The whites is nice because they also have a high midfoot and they're roomy overall. I think that'd be great for someone who feels like they have a lot of volume in their feet or need a larger boot.
You're kind of hitting all the ones that I was thinking of as well. Whites, really. Zamberlin.
Unfortunately, Salewas are going to be narrow. La Sportiva is going to be fairly snug, in my opinion. But yeah.
When I think about boot fit, I typically think volume. So the height of your foot. How much volume do you have in the height of your foot? I think width at the forefoot. And then I think heel pocket, heel lock.
Yeah.
We kind of talked through width and volume, and we have some ideas, I think, for guys that have got wider feet. I think the rest of the boots we carry are pretty normally like medium width, right?
Yeah.
Kind of run-of-the-mill medium width. What do you got for guys that have issues with heel blisters and they have problems with their heels?
Like if we're looking at it, like if they have bone spurs, that's going to be a problem. Because they've already developed that calcified area that's been blistering and kind of healing that's sticking off on the back already. If we want to, to get down, obviously we're doing a podcast, so we'll get down to the nitty gritty of it, but like if an insole helps, because if it's going to support that arch a little bit more on the inside, that foot's not waffling out so much, that foot's not moving so much in the boot. So if we need to throw like a Superfeet insole, or if there's an insole that maybe a doctor recommends, or just find something that supports your arch, that can help limit the range of motion of that foot quite a bit. So going back to like ankle dorsiflexion, if we're kind of walking in a boot that's too stiff and you need that mobility, then we need to back ourselves out. So you were talking about like, what's one boot that, that guy can probably have? It really depends on his foot as well. I summited one of the peaks here up on Mount Charleston in Nevada, and I wore the Hanwag Sirius 2s.
Oh, yeah.
Those things absolutely tore my feet apart.
Yeah, they're super stiff.
Super stiff. But I was thinking, you're going from 7,000 feet to 11,000 something. You're going to be climbing. That trail was so well maintained, and it was so gradual.
Yeah.
That was the wrong boot because there was no flexibility. I should have just been on my toes the whole time, but I've only been taking like 8-inch steps. I should have probably put my Salewa mountain trainers on or something else. What I'm getting to is my range of motion at 6'5", taking the steps I was taking, that was not the boot for me. Plus, once my feet swelled and that boot got heavier, like now my heels are dragging. It's just, dude, I lost that battle. So that was a really good lesson learned. To dial it back and to know my terrain and to know my boot and to know my mobility. So I think that what's really nice about like that Makra Pro you're holding, notice how the synthetic here is kind of like stitched around the leather. That's going to fold a lot easier for someone who needs to maybe bend down, sit on their toes, climb up steep terrain. They're going to get that range of motion a bit more, which benefits them. For someone who's got maybe a stiffer boot, that might be too much, or a stiffer foot, a limited range of motion, that might be too much. So that's why I want to talk to people about, hey man, let's go ahead and how far can you, in that boot with your feet planted on the ground, how far can you get that knee over those toes? And if they're limited, perfect, let's go down.
Yeah.
The questioning goes a different route. So
I know if I get blisters, it's on my heels. It's always on my heel. And it's typically like you're saying, because it's the wrong boot for what I'm trying to do with it. It's too stiff through the sole, or I haven't broken it in. Or the heel pocket just doesn't fit me. And I've got kind of a narrow heel. And for me, I like the Salewa. I like the heel pocket in the Salewa. I think it's got the best, most comfortable locking heel pocket.
Yeah.
The length on them is a little off for me for some reason, just the length of my foot. I also think the Hanwag has a really nice heel pocket.
Yeah. Yep.
Are there others that you can think of that like you get, customers that come back and say, hey, I like the heel. I normally have heel blisters, but I don't anymore because I wear this boot.
I think a lot, like Kenetrek gets that bad reputation, I think, from tearing up a lot of people's heels, but for a lot of people, they fit them really well.
Yeah.
So like, it's so hard. Like it's so specific to the person. Like two of the boots you mentioned, the Salewa and the Hanwag, they have like, Hanwags all have really good like leather heel cups in them. And then all the Salewas have that 3F system that like really lock your heel in.
Yep.
So man, it's just so specific to the person and then the boot.
Yeah.
I'm the same way with Kenetrek, and they just tear my feet up.
Yeah, so. They eat my heel alive, and it doesn't seem to be how many miles I put on it or what I do. I just can't get my heel to quit moving in that boot. And for some reason, it just moves around. But I know, I'm like you. I know a ton of people that absolutely love that boot.
Yeah. I mean, and initially we didn't even have Kenetrek in the shop because of that reputation. I think Porter, they tore Porter's feet up, so we didn't even bring him in initially.
Yeah. But I have a lot of people. In fact, the first real money I spent on a pair of boots was a pair of Kenetreks. Yeah. And I wore them to death. Yeah. I mean, I wore those things. I wore clear through the sole, and they were phenomenal. They were awesome. Oh, nice. I've since had two pairs and tried to make them work, and they just, for whatever reason, I don't know if they changed something in the, the overall make, like the stitch or, the way they build that boot. But for whatever reasons, the subsequent pairs I've had of them have eaten my heel up. And maybe it's my, maybe my dimensions change. I'd probably put on some weight, and my mobility's probably suffered for sure.
Well, I think as you get older too, your feet widens out.
Yeah, like my feet have gotten wider for sure. Yeah, I went from, that's another thing that's probably worth noting is I went from wearing a 10.5 all through my 20s to now I'm an 11.5 in my 40s. Mm-hmm. Yeah, a full size difference.
Well, I think a lot of people, I should say for me, like I didn't really know what size boot. That first pair of Zamberlins, like my first high-end pair of boots, I bought the wrong size.
Like, too big or too small?
Too big.
Too big.
And I wore them on it was a early season New Mexico, like backcountry elk, and it was hot, and they tore me up. And that's one reason, like our sizing on the website, like we literally have a video that will walk people through, like sizing their foot length and width to try and get the right size. So.
And you can compare that to the profiles on each individual boot. Yeah.
So
how should a boot fit? How much room would you guys suggest, Paul? What do you think?
We want it to be, So to me, like I
snug
tell
throughout,
people,
snug in the length, snug in the heel.
there's this really weird thing, but when people go to put their foot in a boot, you can hear almost like them push the air out of the air cup. It's like, and it just drops in. And when you hear that, the contact being made into the heel cup is like, that thing shouldn't move. You're feeling it, and you can hear it. Now, up in the front is where people can feel like, oh, well, it's a little tight. If you ever had a really good handshake, you don't want the handshake that's busting your knuckles. You want the handshake that's nice and firm and comfortable. That's what we're looking for in the toe box, is just something that's right on the outside of the feet, snug and comfortable, because we need to give the boot the chance to break in. Let the leather soften up. Let that toe box break in on your wear point. Let that foot move. And again, get it ahead of time. Give it a few months if need be. Mow the yard with it, take a dog for a walk after dinner, whatever you need to do, but give the boot the chance. Because if you don't, that boot's not going to give you a chance on the mountain. It's over with.
I think it's a good analogy, a handshake. I never thought about it like that.
It's snug.
Yeah.
It's really snug and comfortable.
You don't want a dead fish.
Nope, definitely don't.
And you don't want the guy that tries to rip your hand off.
Nope. Yeah, so that's what
It's
we're
like a
looking
nice
for.
firm handshake.
Yeah, nice firm handshake.
That's how a boot should fit.
That's it.
A
I
nice,
think you mentioned it earlier too, like putting a new pair of boots or something on, and it's just like,
That is nice.
Like that's a good. That's like right off the bat, and the insoles obviously in these boots are all garbage.
Yeah.
So I would definitely recommend changing.
We'll get
those
into
out.
that.
Yeah.
I like about a finger width in the end.
Over at the front?
of a boot.
In the toe box
I was
for
going to
sure.
say, I don't know if it's okay to say the rule of thumb, like
The rule of thumb.
Yeah.
like a thumb's width up there. And I think as you get in a stiffer boot, I want more room up there, right? Because if you're coming downhill in a stiff boot, like you're
Foot swelling.
probably going to go. Yep.
Yeah, foot swelling, descent. But yeah, I usually like on the Brannick device, wherever they land, the heel cup's all the way in the back. We do the sizing. Put a finger in the front. Wherever that finger ends up, that's the size we should consider. Because some people come in like, well, I wear a 9 in Vans, but their toes like at the end of the tennis shoe. It's like, yeah, but we're hanging out in our car. We're sitting behind the desk. This isn't real. We want to have a real. So like what we'll do. It's what's nice about these rubber Rans is you can just take like a nail and mark the leather. And go, was your toe right about there? And someone's like, it's a little farther up. Okay, we need to come up a bit. And so yeah, you're right. Like the rule of thumb, or just give them like a half inch or so, or to an inch in front of the feet. That is a big difference maker. So I don't know if
Typically what I'll do is I'll put the boot on, I'll lace it up snug, scoop my heel kind of the back of the boot, and I'll give it a little toe kick, right? Kick my toe into the ground. And I can usually gauge like how much room I've got in the end of the boot to kind of see if it's going to be enough. But I know that, the two spots, if I get blisters, it'll be a heel first and foremost. The other one will be the boot's too short and I've got a heavy pack on and I'm going downhill. Yeah. And I've got a longer second toe. I don't know. It has a name actually. Has some sort of heritage. It goes back to my German heritage too.
Really?
Yeah, longer second toe. It looks weird. Yeah, I'm definitely not going to be on Feet Finder, but
I found you on there.
yeah, you found me. Yeah, but it fits weird. But I'll get one on my second toe if I don't have a boot that's long enough. So
there's been guys who've lost toenails from short boots.
For sure.
Yeah,
I've literally had blisters on the inside of my pinky toe for too narrow of a boot. I don't know if you holy cow.
Yeah, squeezing your feet together.
Yep.
Yeah.
I like that analogy of a handshake. I think that's good. Yeah,
that helps a lot.
Nice job, Paul.
Yeah, you got it.
Insoles. Do you guys replace your insoles?
Every time.
Before I
All
ever
of
put
them?
the boot on. Yeah, 100%. I literally had a customer in here yesterday. He was trying those boots on and he went home with them. And I'm like, dude, I wouldn't even try these. Like, don't try these on without insoles that actually fit your foot. Being able to talk to all these companies, I'm like, hey, why do you guys do this? Like, it's a $400 pair of boots. And Hanwag honestly is probably one of the worst. Like if you pull the insole out of that boot right now, it's like a piece of cardboard.
I just did a video and that's exactly what I said. I'm like, this insole sucks.
Yeah. And they all tell me the same thing. Like, hey, we're making these boots to fit the vast amount of feet and foots. The largest amount of people out there that we can. We expect customers that are paying this amount of money for boots to get an insole that fits their foot. So
interesting.
I probably won't even buy that boot, throw the insole away before I ever put it on my foot.
You do too. You replace the insoles.
Yeah. Like it's kind of funny, but like I have super feet at home in the boxes still. And some aren't cut yet, but I have a bunch that I will take out and like put in all of. So like my Alberstones have a set of super feet. My Sirius have a set of super feet. Because I take out the insole and I'll map my insoles, the new ones, and I'll cut them so they fit exactly.
Yep.
But I will swap them all. So all my major hiking boots will have a stiffer super feet insole. And then my lighter stuff will have the max hike, or now it's just called the super feet hike, adapt hike. I'll have that one. And then they have a trail run or a running insole I'll have in my boot. Just because my arch, I have a mid arch, very standard arch, but I collapse a lot and stuff. And man, the movement just kills my feet. So having an arch support is really, really comfortable. It helps to eliminate sometimes or prevent plantar fasciitis as well. When your foot is having to work that hard, and the fascia, plantar fascia from the heel to right behind the toes here, once that keeps stretching and stretching, that loosens up. We get up in the morning, sometimes we put our boots on, we're like, oh, damn it, like we stepped on a tack. That's why there's inflammation in there from that foot working too hard. An insole can sometimes help, whether it's a Dr. Scholl's, it doesn't matter, and some people are like, well, I have really flat feet, and I've seen them, and you can, like, they have a really long, low arch. You still got an arch. Let's just, and I tell people, and I'm very honest with them, I said, look, I don't want to say this is a requirement. I just recommend, if you haven't looked into it yet, check it out, because all it does is help your feet a little bit more. Or if they have a, what's that foot doctor? I forgot the name. Not a podiatrist, is it? No.
Yeah, podiatrist.
Yeah.
Doctor.
If they have an insole that they recommend for you, ask for 2 to throw them in your hunting boots and your tennis shoes or something. But I think insoles are worth it, because you're spending the money on a boot like this. Please don't think that the insole on the inside is going to be any good for you. I'm like, I joke with people, take this out, cut a circle, make it a koozie on your table, because that's about all it's good for.
That sucks.
Get yourself a good.
It does suck.
Yeah.
But for performance footwear, like when we were doing a lot of ski boot fits and people are spending the same amount of money on a shell or a ski boot, that insole isn't worth anything. You got to pull them, get you new ones, because it's a performance footwear. It's a different thing. So it does kind of suck.
I guess it is one of those things where, you're trying to make a product that fits the widest array of people, but man, there's sure a lot to be desired for most of these insoles.
Yeah.
Also, another thing I recommend, and again, I also want to say that for some people, maybe you don't have to. I don't think you should listen to me about everything. If you feel like you're comfortable, fine. But if you wear your boots a lot and you pack out an insole, change them. Because that insole's not going to maintain that comfort year after. Yeah, pull them out and just buy another crappy pair if you want to. Or when you're breaking your boots in, break them in with the insoles. And then when you're done breaking them in, then put your good insoles in. Because now you have a comfortable brand new insole under that arch. And now you have a nice broken in boot, and they're just going to marry well together.
Yeah, I'm stubborn and I'm kind of a dummy. So I always just buy them and I wear the regular insoles. And I've done that for years and years and years. Yeah, I know this last year I had this exact boot and I wore it through my whole mule deer hunt. I wore it on that elk hunt. I packed up that elk, and I would get back. It was a 9-mile one-way hike. And I'd get back to the truck that night and be like, man, my feet are sore.
Oh, yeah.
They are tender, And I came home from that and I just threw in super feet, just an aftermarket insole, and it was a 9-day difference.
Yeah.
They were infinitely more comfortable.
Well, I think that's one thing that saved me on this elk hunt when I had those brand new whites. I literally took the insoles that I know and use and put them in those boots. And I was, that far ahead.
I will say some of the insoles, the different boots, I mean, those ones I tried on in the warehouse last week, some of them do have better insoles. I wouldn't say it's like every insole is absolute junk. I would say they're probably not as good as an aftermarket, no matter the brand. Some of them are better than others, though. I would call out Hanwag and say, these are rubbish.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. And also the Salevas, I don't really like their insoles either.
Yep.
No.
Yeah, they don't really
They're
work.
really thin.
Yeah, they're super thin.
They're super thin.
Yeah, they don't really work for me. Some of them, the whites I thought were decent.
Yeah, I think whites are decent. There's some other ones.
Zamberlin makes a thick one.
Yeah, Zamberlin's
got a
super
really
plush.
thick end. Yeah, if you want to run it, by all means you could, but it'll pack out.
I agree.
Yep.
What else? Oh, insulation. Do you guys recommend insulation for boots? When? How much? I get that question all the time. What do you think?
That's another tough one. Like my feet run warm, and so I've literally never worn an insulated boot. I will just adjust my sock. So for later season hunts, I'll just have a really good, like a Darn Tough 2013 or something. I say that, and I wore an insulated boot this last season, which was that whites boot, and had 400 grams of insulation. Temperatures were like single digits before wind chill and a ton of snow, and my feet. The only time my feet got cold we were riding the side-by-side out. After we had packed the elk out, I had gotten sweaty and I just sat there in that cold temperatures. They got cold. But other than that, I was good. So
gotcha. You insulated, uninsulated?
I'm an uninsulated guy, but I hunt like August through September. And then I'm usually in the showroom October, November, December, and then January maybe go chase javelina. But I mean, Arizona's not bad. We had that snow flurry that hit us this year when we were up there and it dropped like 8 inches of snow on us. And I was in Alverstones, and boy, was that a bad idea. It was just cold. You know, it was just cold. That's all there was to it. So yeah, I think Brady was in his Brenners and he was just sitting there smiling. He was fine. He was comfortable. So I think it's definitely based on what you're doing the majority of the year. You know, Nate is great with this. He said he runs the 400 Mountain Extreme 400s, and all he does is he just like dials back his socks. He'll go lightweight sock early on when he's scouting. He'll go heavyweight sock when he's hunting. You know, like give your feet room to breathe. If you're going to do insulated, that's fine. But I think they're fantastic. Like White's makes that really nice one with Primaloft insulation in it, which is great for your late season hunts. Or if you run cold, we have some guys like, look, man, I mean, it could be 65 and I'm freezing. We're like, yeah, well, let's insulate your feet a little bit then.
Depends on how much hiking you're doing too, how active you are. And, you know, different people sweat more than others. Like Jared said, my feet sweat like crazy. So it seems like it doesn't matter. If I wear an insulated boot, my feet just sweat that much more. It just sweats right out super fast.
Because I think 400 grams is good from 0 to 30 degrees if you're moving. But if you sit in glass and that stuff, like you're just going to get cold. Blood's not flowing the way it should.
Yeah, then you're having a whole other discussion. How to keep your feet warm.
I mean, there's some manufacturers that don't even like that serious boot. Like they don't even put a grams of insulation
rating on it.
They just put a temperature rating on it. So again, it's such a personal thing. Like even that bull of Campos out there, that was a late season nasty. And I had uninsulated boots. It was great. You know, I just adjusted my socks.
Yeah. I think it depends, like a lot of things with boots and footwear, a lot of it's subjective. I would typically tell people uninsulated all the way to like middle of October maybe. If you get a little snow on the ground, you might want to think about a 200 or a 400 gram insulation moving into like November. They make boots that have more than 400 gram, 600, 800. To me, I'm not that guy. Like I'm not sitting in a tree stand.
I think a lot of people, they like initially I did the same thing when I was doing this. Like I didn't want to get cold, so I bought insulation, and I got sweaty and got cold.
Got cold. Yeah,
so
wet and
that's
cold.
what people, I think, do a lot. They like, well, I'll just get insulated and I'll be warm. And I'm like, that you'll probably be colder because you're going to sweat, and then your feet are going to, you know, if you're not keeping your feet and your socks dry, you're going to get cold.
Yeah. I would say 200 grams is a fairly good, like if you're hunting late September, maybe high country to October, November, you probably get away with 200. Otherwise, I'd just go uninsulated and adjust your socks. What do you guys do for socks? Are you double layer? Do you layer them up? Do you do a liner and a sock?
Liner and a sock.
And then it's like a nylon liner?
Yep.
Like straight nylon under sock, super thin?
Yeah, it definitely helps with the abrasion for me for blisters and everything. Saves my feet a ton.
Can you explain that and how?
Yeah, so when I used to work for the California Department of Fish and Wildlife, I was a scientific aid studying sheep for 2 years for the big pneumonia outbreak in the Mojave National Preserve. My feet were getting killed. And one of the scientists out there, his name was John Wayhausen, and he was putting on these like they looked like silk pantyhose that were about calf high. And I was like, this is gonna be interesting. Let's take a look at this.
You're like, all right.
He threw on his socks. And this old dude would go and go and go. And at the time, I was wearing a Loa Renegade, and my feet were just killing me. So later on in the season, I upgraded to Salomon Quest 3Ds, best Salomon ever, and I went Darn Tough. I did a bunch of Darn Tough socks and those silk liners. I tried it, and that silk liner provides the barrier between, you know, the skin, your heels or your wear points, and that sock from getting hot. So, like Jared was mentioning, you know, if you have a foot there's too much room in a boot, he mentioned it earlier, and he just got a lot of blisters. The heat alone causes a ton of friction. So, by all means, you're in the desert, you're already hot, sweat, friction. It's a matter of time before you get a blister. And I felt that the liners, and they have continually helped create that barrier other than that hunt or hike up onto that peak to minimize blisters for me, which has been really, really comfortable. So I usually pack like 2 things of liners with me on a hunt if it's like 6 to 8 days. So I have like a couple pairs for 4 days, a couple pairs for another, and I can rinse them out. And then I just run Darn Toughs as a sock.
In essence, you're moving the friction point not from like a Darn Tough sock directly to your skin. The friction point now, that movement is between the 2 liners, the liner and the sock.
Exactly. Yeah.
Versus just the sock riding on your skin. And that's what, like, it's interesting I read up a bunch on this. Like a lot of your blister is essentially caused by just moving over and over friction on the same spot, just sliding back and forth. Like you could do it with your finger on your hand if you wanted. Just move it back and forth, continually keep doing it. It would raise that blister. It's just that little irritation on your skin over time.
It separates the epidermis, and then the epidermis in that space fills with water, and then that's what it is.
Yeah. and then pain train.
Yep.
Big words today from Paul.
Paul's a linguist. He's got lots of words today.
Save your feet, people. I'm here to help you.
But yeah, I don't wear a liner. Do you wear a liner?
I don't. I never have.
I have in the past when I've had boots that I've had blister issues with, and it worked.
Mm-hmm.
So,
so you don't wear a liner, although it works, and you don't use insoles, although they work.
Hey, I'm
Gotcha.
tough.
Yeah.
I'm tough. I'm tough.
I felt bad for the toe thing. Now I think I'm going to just like, you deserve the longer toe.
I'm tough. No, I went to just using a darn tough sock, and I didn't have any blister issues with the boots that I'd selected. And so at that point, I was just like, I don't need a liner, and I just wear a darn tough 2012 sock.
I think that makes such a huge difference. I've felt a difference in boot fit wearing a quality sock over just a regular sock.
For sure.
So that's one thing that I have on. Like if I'm day hunting, I probably have 2 pairs of socks, like a pair on my feet and a pair in my bag.
Quality sock helps.
I think they're
Cotton
huge.
kills.
You know, it's funny to talk to people that have never, worn a quality sock like that in the showroom or something. Like, man, darn tough. They have a lifetime warranty. Like you wear a hole in them, they'll send you another pair. Like, it's kind of a no-brainer to me.
Yeah, do people have a hard time stomaching pain? I remember my wife one time was like, pair of socks, $25, $30 for a pair of socks. That's unbelievable. No way.
Yep.
I'm like, a whole drawer full of them. Absolutely worth every penny.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think people might balk at the cost of a good pair of socks. When reality is, it's probably one of the best investments you can make.
I 100% agree.
Yeah.
I wear them to the gym. I wear them every day.
Yeah, I do too. I have them around right now.
Think about like some of our vehicles we take. Like, why would we want to spend so much more money on a tire? Didn't the car come with tires? Well, I mean, yeah. Well, what do these tires do that's different? What do these socks do that's different? Well, they're merino. They're going to feel better. They're going to breathe better. They're going to all these things. It is a matter of, like transporting us into the backcountry. Is it going to make our hunt more comfortable? And does that keep us out there longer so we can be successful? Yeah, 100%. That's why we have so many socks in our drawers. That's why we recommend maybe a Farm to Feed or a Darn Tough and some of these others, because they are worth it. They are definitely worth the investment.
Do you vary your width, like the cushion and the weight of the sock over the year at all?
I do for sure.
You do?
Yeah.
How so?
Yeah.
Like for early season, I'll have like the 2100, or I think it's what the 2010 now.
Lighter weight?
Yep. Super lightweight. It still has some cushion in it, but it's lighter weight. Like, but I'll still have a couple pairs of those with me.
Just cooler?
Yep. And then as I go through like the 2013 for Darn Tough, the Farm to Feed Kodiak is like my late season. I love that sock.
The Kodiak?
Yeah.
That's a heavy duty sock.
It is.
It's a thick sock.
It is. But like I said, I'll wear an uninsulated boot no matter the temperatures.
Gotcha.
Time, and you just use that sock.
I like that.
Yeah.
Lightweight to midweight all the way.
Yeah.
Even this year when it was cold chasing Javelina, I thought like you're only cold for so long. Like it's not like some of the guys going way up in the backcountry for so long, or like really late hunts like Jared might be used to. I'm more of the earlier, so I'm light to midweight all year long. I'm fine with it. I might take like a full cushion midweight sock by Darn Tough. Like if I'm hanging out at camp, we got rained out or something, we're just hanging out, I'll put on a nice fresh pair of comfortable socks. But nah, I'm typically just light to midweight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wear lightweight socks mostly for running, like in the summer. I like those because they get hot and it feels like it's just a nice, they move better for whatever reason. It's funny, running socks, you ever look at running socks? They're all super thin. Like,
Oh yeah.
yeah, I mean, there's a whole market with running socks. I mean, huge market. And they're all, a lot of them are paper thin, super. Omar, what do you wear for running socks?
He runs.
He doesn't wear
socks. He doesn't
Enzyme?
wear socks.
Adidas? Just cotton? 3 stripes? 3 stripe live. I like that.
Doesn't Cam? He doesn't wear socks when he runs, doesn't he?
You do wear socks?
I wear socks.
You do wear socks. You'll get there.
Are you working up to that? No socks?
I've actually done it before.
Have you?
And honestly, I don't think it's a bad point.
I don't think it's a bad point either.
What's
I
the
don't-
point?
The point is just toughen your feet up. So essentially callous your feet to the point where, you're not going to get blisters or hot spots. I can see it. I'm just not tough enough to do it.
Dang.
Yeah, I wear socks. I like socks. I don't vary mine up other than trail running in the summer. I'll wear a lightweight sock, and then pretty much everything hunting all the way from August archery through November. If I have a late tag, it's the Darn Tough 2012.
Really?
Yeah, it's just my favorite
it's a great sock. Yeah, 100%.
It's just it's a great sock. It feels like the right volume in my boot, and I like the full cushion, and it just works for me. The other ones I've worn quite a bit more recently is the hollow fleece.
Yeah,
which
I
is
was going to mention
the
that.
alpaca.
They just changed their name to Void.
Yeah, Void, right.
But I would 100%.
Yeah, I love those.
There's there's very few socks out there that would like take me away from Darn Tough, but those are 100%.
They're a very nice sock.
Yeah.
The uppers and those are so plush.
Yeah.
You put those on, it's like,
What's that called? It's alpaca. What's the sweater made out of that stuff?
yeah, I don't know the name of them. Just
They are like legit nice socks.
You're talking cashmere?
Like
Like cashmere. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it does feel like a little bit
amazing.
cashmere-ish.
Yes.
Yeah.
Come with a corncob pipe.
You got a cashmere sweater, Paul?
Me? No.
I can see it with
Too
the
rich, huh?
stash.
Oh yeah, I guess so. Yeah, I should get like a
I got
crush.
too. Nice pipe.
Yeah.
A nice roll neck, turtleneck, cashmere for you, Paul.
Yeah, a nice high back chair, a little snifter of something to hang out with, and
You in a lighthouse.
yeah,
That's what I'm picturing.
Yeah.
This is all coming together for me.
yeah, okay. I'm
A
kinda
lighthouse
liking this.
keeper.
A
I'm
lighthouse
glad to hear you
keeper.
say that. I was going to ask you about those socks and if you.
They're nice. Yeah, I really dig them actually.
Yeah.
Yeah. I kind of wish there was a little bit more cushion in the bottom part of that because
Yeah.
I feel like the weave and the cushion is really good in the upper. I wish the lower part, like the footbed, had more cushion to it and a little bit heavier sock. But overall, I've liked them. I've worn them and they've been really good.
Yeah.
But
Nice.
super soft.
Yeah.
What else you got? Anything else about boots?
One thing I talk to customers quite a lot about is like construction of the midsole. I don't know if you were going to mention that. Like,
No, go ahead.
Like if you look at that, where that Macro Pro is over there, like that midsole is two pieces. Like it's EVA foam here and then TPU rubber back here. And so that's one way manufacturers will either cut weight and cut costs
Gotcha.
is using the EVA foam, which it'll break in quicker. It'll be more comfortable out of the box. It'll be lighter weight,
Also break down sooner,
but it'll
right?
break down and
Longevity.
stop absorbing impact quicker than something that's full EVA rubber, like something like this.
I should go get mine. Mine are in the truck, and I could show you the width difference between this boot brand new and mine right now after lots of pack outs.
Yeah.
It's pretty stark.
Gone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, when I have a customer out here in the showroom, I'll try and explain those type of things to them. So, like, as they go forward and, buy boots in the future, they can look at those type of things and see the difference in boots.
EVA foam is comfortable now for sure.
Like, there's that Zamberlan Salate Trek. That is a stupid light and comfortable boot.
How do you call that? I call it the Salaith.
I say Salate. I don't even know. I don't even think.
I like it.
You talk to the guys at Zamberlan, they'll call it different things too.
My pronunciation on it was so bad that I had to throw in a little caveat and say, I don't know how you pronounce this. This is my attempt. If you know,
Yeah.
torch me if you want, but this is what I've got.
However you say it, that is a really lightweight, really comfortable boot. And
Yeah.
it has an EVA foam midsole.
I like that boot.
Yeah.
I wish it wasn't $330.
Yeah.
That's the stomach ache for me on that boot, but
Yeah.
I would like to own a pair. Those are nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's like, we didn't have all the boots out here, but if you were going to say, hey, pick one boot to do early season.
Yeah,
it'd
light and
still be-
fast.
That would be one that's still tough. Like the upper is tough and it's light and flexible.
What about you, Paul? One boot. What are you going to use this year?
I was looking at that Tatra top as a full grain leather. Just looks really. I want like a full grain leather boot in my lineup. Just something that I can throw on anytime, go anywhere, do something with. But that Alverstone, I'm really
Love it.
happy with. Yeah, I took them home. I pulled the laces. I cleaned them up, and they look brand new. And I'm just. It's a funny thing, but like you get excited when you have a boot that fits just good to get back in the to get out there and to get going again. But when people come in, I really want them to know that. If this is a certain price boot, and we know this is kind of steep, but this is what we're going to get out of this boot. This is where this boot's going to take you. Know that you can still get them resold if you need to. Things can come up, or the warranty behind Hanwag or some of the other brands that are great to kind of back you up and help you out. It's hard enough to sometimes get into some gear and things like that. This shouldn't have to be that hard, and that's what we're here for, is to talk it over, help you out, answer those questions, and by no means are any questions stupid.
What do you think about that boot, Jared? This is the Equilibrium
it's,
Fla Sportiva.
Everybody that I've talked to really loves that boot. I mean, it obviously has its looks, but it's comfortable. It's lightweight. The heel on that boot, like, just kind of is crazy to me.
Yeah, it's a lot.
It is a lot. It's aggressive.
Look at that.
Yeah.
That's
I know
the deepest lug on a heel I think I've ever seen on a boot.
It's funny when they first came out with that, or even before they came out with that boot, when I was like ordering it to put it in the shop, like there was no, like I didn't get my hands on that boot, and the computer renderings made that
It looked like an ice climbing boot.
crazy, yeah.
It looked like they were spikes on the
Yes.
bottom of that.
So everybody that's worn that boot really loves it.
I have a pair. I like them.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was really surprised at the number of people I've seen wearing this
Yeah.
boot. I think a lot of it's looks.
Yep.
I think they like a little flash in the laces, and
Yeah.
you know, you get the orange.
Well, the other one they
the
have
yellow
now is
toe.
like electric yellow and like
Yeah.
a darker blue, right?
The other color's kind of cool.
I like the other color.
I
better,
do. I do like the other color better than this one. Yeah.
You had the blue Makra, didn't you? This
I
year?
did. Yeah. Yeah. I wore the blue, the Smurf boots.
Yeah.
Yeah. You throw some mud on them. They kind of, you know, they color up.
I
pretty
got
good.
I got Porter on those. He came in for a hunt and he was like, "I need some boots. Where's those Scarpas?" I said, "Look, let's try something new." And I brought out those Makras in that color because I knew he's like a trout. You just throw it out there and he'll go. And so I brought out that blue and yellow, and dude, he lit
He
up.
bit that quick.
Easy. Yeah, you didn't have to set the hook. He just took it.
That's
and
why
ran.
I was shocked he said that one
Me
was too
too.
loud.
That's funny. When he was in here, I was like, it'll be one of these two that he likes.
Yeah.
Because I think this is a good looking boot.
It is.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny how, you know, talking to people, and some people will love that, and some people are like, oh, I love the boot, but those laces, I just can't do it. I'm like, dude, get like a 50-cent pair of laces
Yeah.
and change them out. Like, if you like the boot, don't worry about the color laces.
Yeah.
So,
That is funny, huh? People are funny with the way
yeah.
a boot looks.
yeah. Yep.
Yeah, I think that's been. I mean, when I was growing up, we all had a full leather boot.
Yeah.
I mean, we all wore Kinetrex, we all wore Loas, you know, and that was like a staple in every Western big game hunter was this all leather brown boot with the rubber rand. It was like the look you were going for, you know. And then, you know, I think more recently this type of stuff has popped up. People want to have a little bit of flash on their
Yeah.
feet.
Yep.
Not that this isn't a good boot. I do think it's a good boot. I just think it's probably. I think the selling point for this is as much flash as it is the actual
Yeah.
function and use of the boot. Phenomenal traction.
Yeah, you're definitely not
I mean,
slipping.
super tacky. And if you're
Yeah.
going downhill, you've definitely got some bite in that thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've been surprised at the number of people I've seen wearing this boot. It sold really well.
Yeah. When someone fits in a La Sportiva, it's like unique. It's a good fit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree. And I've liked La Sportiva. I wore the Trango Cube, which was the kind of predecessor, I would say, for this boot.
Yep.
It was a lot more subtle than this one,
Yeah.
and even in the sole.
Oh, yeah.
But I love that boot. It was actually, in my opinion, it was actually kind of akin to this as far as the stiffness goes, and that's what I really liked about it, and that's why I keep going. And that's, I mean, we'll bring it full circle here, but if you find a boot you like in terms of stiffness, in terms of fit function, I know that this boot and, you know, the Trango Cube from La Sportiva, same kind of thing. It was about this same build, same stiffness, kind of the same profile, same height. I mean, that worked for 90% of the hunting I was doing, which is why I keep returning to it. So, you know, try boots, find something that you like. And if you can't buy it year in and year out, find something else that's kind of in that same vein.
It's funny you say that. Like when I heard the Makra Combi was going away, I bought a bunch of the size that I need because I just love that
Liked
boot.
it.
And I can, you know, I've had it on hunts like that that Utah elk hunt that was filmed a few years ago, like hunting elk in, you know, steep terrain, but then it was still a 10-mile like trail pack out, pretty flat terrain, and it still did great. So it's just one of those boots that just worked for me. So I like have maybe 3 or 4 pairs of those in my phone.
Yeah.
You're hoarding them.
Yes.
This was a good replacement for it, I thought. I wasn't originally like in love with it because it's a leather synthetic blend where the other one was all synthetic. But I will say I've liked it. It's been a good replacement for me. I'm like a boot junkie. I keep wanting to like new boots, and I buy new boots and I try them, and then I'm like, I still really like that hot log.
Yep.
You know, the Alaska GTX or the Makra Pro.
Your closet probably looks a lot like my closet with like
It looks like a pile.
pairs of
Yeah.
boots. Yeah.
Yep. Anyway, thanks, guys. I appreciate you coming.
Yeah. Thanks for having us on. Appreciate it.
Any parting words? You got any final piece of advice for folks?
I wish I did. I felt like I left it on the table. We covered a lot today.
Yeah.
Thought that was really, really great. It was a ton of information. Yeah, if anything, I guess seriously, some of the advice that I'd really give you guys for anybody listening is don't get wrapped up in a brand. Don't get wrapped up in anything that you haven't tried. The whole thing about hunting is doing your research, doing your homework. Don't be embarrassed to ask a question. Don't be embarrassed about your feet either. Like when you come in, I'm gonna ask you to take your shoes off. We're gonna go through a fit, and I don't care what they smell like because what I care about is you getting a boot to go on a hunt. So, we're all here to help out and everything else. So please,
Can people reach out to you, Paul?
Yeah, they can reach out. If you want to hit me up on Instagram, I'm at Wild and Famous. If you want to come by the showroom, We're open from Tuesday through Saturday from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. You can email me at paul@gohunt.com if you have any questions, and we'll go through it from there. There was a guy this Saturday asking me boot questions because I put up a little thing about a certain boot brand, and I said Hanwag for life. Mm-hmm. And
he said, "If you try to pair Crispy,"
and he asked me about, hey man,
that's what people say to me.
I've got really narrow feet. I've got really narrow heels. And so I started we had this long Instagram thread going just because I was asking him all the questions, like a little consultation. He said, I got a pair of Kenetrex now. I'm pretty good with him, but he has the heel thing. Mm-hmm. And so we were talking about, well, there might be a flexibility, an insole, and all this other stuff. So I'm if I can't get to you right away, I'm definitely going to get to somebody to help them out because they deserve it.
Yeah.
So
reach out to Tall Paul.
Paul. Yeah. Come by the showroom. We'll hang out.
Jared, thanks for keeping us stocked in boots.
For real.
Yeah. It's fun. It's ever changing. So it's kind of cool.
I remember back when I did a little more with the store, I would look at the number of SKUs.
Oh my gosh.
In boots.
Yeah.
And I would think, Jared, you poor soul.
Well, what's funny, I mentioned that we launched boots like Expo 4 years ago, and we took all of our boots up there.
Yeah.
There's no way we could do that now.
No.
That was a lot of work then. It would be insane.
Well, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 rows in our warehouse that are 7 shelves high
to the ceiling
of boots, and then there's a whole back wall that's just boots, and that wraps around, and that's probably like a quarter to maybe half of our warehouse.
So yeah, it's an ever changing, which is cool about it. Like everything's changing all the time. So it's fun. It's challenging. Like I have boots in my closet that I've probably never worn. Like those whites saved my bacon this season. I had never worn them, and I just took them just in case, and they saved me. So it's fun.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Buy boots. Never too early to buy boots.
Yeah, or hunt barefoot
definitely.
like Omar.
Yeah, now's the time. Now's actually the time. I know we've gotten some kickback. Like, oh man, is it already time to think about boots? It's only I don't even know what month it is. February.
Yeah.
I'm like, actually, yeah, I think it is.
If you're spring bear hunting,
there's only a couple things that really will make and break a hunt.
Yeah,
and that's one of them is a pair of boots.
Yeah.
I just don't get getting ahead of that and getting them broken in and
I agree.
And being ready.
It's a great time to buy a pair and do some shed hunting and do some spring hikes. Then you roll into the summer where you're out summer scouting. And then, by the time you get to the fall, there's no question that your footwear is going to work for you.
Yeah.
Yep. Weather's starting to break. You can start getting back outside. You can start doing the things you want to do. Like it's waiting to the last minute, man. It's just bad news.
You say that, and there was an avalanche on Mount Charleston yesterday.
You should probably just wait.
We think about that here in Vegas. Hey, it's 60 degrees out, but it's February and the majority of the country's
still under snow.
Yeah, February, March. You get to the March, it's starting to turn a little bit, but that's just a few weeks away.
Especially for shed hunters. Like if you're thinking about a new boot, wear it when you're looking for sheds. If you're, setting out cameras, if you're going to start scouting, anything you need to do, think about wearing new boots and break them in those situations. That's when it helps. So.
And that's a new boot for us, too. Give us a quick.
This will be here. This is a new Hanwag. I don't even know how to say the name. The Calyx 4s.
The Calyx 4s.
Calyx 4s.
Is that one word?
It is one word.
It's not the Calyx 4s.
Nope.
There wasn't 3 more.
Call it whatever you want, but it's a new Hanwag. Should be here March, maybe early April. So
it's really cool.
Pretty cool. Yeah. We've had this out on a couple of hunts already, and had good reviews.
Yeah, it looks like it's going to be really comfortable out of the box, and that softer cuff at the top to kind of limit abrasion or anything on the back of some of those ankles. That is going to be interesting. Adam really liked them.
Yeah. So they showed this to me, I think last year, and I was like, we need that one. I mean, it obviously looks GOHUNT too. So
yeah.
We didn't really talk about the height of a boot, but I would just throw in maybe here at the end that. Same thing. Typically, the later you get in the season, the taller the boot, just to offer you some added protection, more waterproofness. Maybe if you're headed further up in elevation, you're hunting sheep, that higher height of a boot can offer you more protection, that scree.
Yeah.
And then some people just don't like a tall boot, but I'm not a fan of a super tall boot.
I'm normally not either. And I was... I shouldn't say this, but I was kind of unprepared for this late season deep snow hunt. I made a lot of stupid mistakes, but I had tall boots on and it saved me.
Gotcha. So, you did good? Killed good bull?
I did. I mean, it was super lucky. I almost died of dehydration. Like there's a lot of mistakes I made.
Really?
Oh yeah. I just too laissez-faire, I guess. You know, I didn't have any like satellite communication. We split up.
No kidding.
So
I don't know this story.
oh yeah. So we're at like 11,000 feet.
down.
Do you know this story?
No.
I'll try and make it quick. So we're at 11,000 feet, single digits.
November?
Before, yep. Well, it was the end of October. I killed that bull
Okay.
on Halloween.
Second season?
Yep.
Gotcha.
So 11,000 feet, really, really cold, deep snow. And we'd been in this spot that somebody might have given me a pin to, like literally 2 days before. I wasn't even planning on going to the spot. And we drop in there and there's one person and thousands, like elk tracks everywhere. And it was still warm. Like once the sun came up, it was like one of those warm, like high elevation
Yep.
days. But my friend and I, Jeremy, split up and he was going, I'm like, hey, we'll go do this plan and I'll drop down into this deep canyon and come up the other side and you go pick me up over there. Well, like a half a mile down this ridge, I spotted these elk and killed this bull and he was already gone.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't remember what happened. I ran out of water, had this long hike out, about just died of dehydration.
Are you packing elk or are you just going out with your gear?
I just killed it and cleaned it and left it there because it was so cold. At
Go
night.
back and get it.
And we'll come back and get it from the top. Luckily, because I dropped down into this canyon that he had come up in a different, and it was bad. It was really bad. So anyway, we spent the next couple of days hauling that bull out the top.
You cramping?
I don't think I ever did. No, I did cramp. I did cramp. I'm glad that nobody saw me because it's funny. I was coming down this ridge and I see these elk bedded in the snow, like in the bottom, and I just drop, and both my legs start cramping as I'm doing this, and so I'm trying to like get in position and like get a shot, and both my legs are cramping, so I'm literally like rolling around on my back in the snow, like trying to get my legs to uncramp and like get in position, and I had to low crawl like 50 yards in this foot of snow to try and get into position to get a shot. And both my legs are cramping. It was
no satellite messenger either, huh?
I didn't because we just
Had a plan.
Dicey.
Yeah, I know. I don't know why. So
I remember going shed hunting one time and I got onto this I dove into the bottom. I picked up this big shed, nice 6-point, longest main beam ever. It was a 60-inch beam on this bull. Dang. Anyway, coming up the other side, you get into that north-facing slope, and you're to a point where it's like up to your thighs, basically, and you're just post-holing.
Yep.
I remember same thing, just completely dehydrated, cramping, legs locking up. It was awful.
And it wasn't that far of a distance. I think it might have been like 3.5 miles from the truck. And normally that's not huge, but like going through a foot of snow, like that doubles, I think, at least the amount of effort that it takes to go through that stuff. So
Yep.
it was an interesting hunt, but
we're glad you made it back.
I know. we packed elk for longer than we hunted, which was cool.
Yeah.
But man, it was. And Omar gave me the spot. This was in Pennsylvania, by the way. So
Yeah.
That's a really good time.
Yeah, so if you're looking for spots, hit up Omar. Omar's got
Pennsylvania
spots.
bulls.
Omar's also single, ladies, so hit Omar up. All right. Thanks, guys.